ho, ho. Merry Christmas, my friends. Merry Christmas. Yes, the older man, Santa, is here to deliver the Christmas message. Hell, it's not going to be a very big message. But we're going to talk about why is it that the sexual activity amongst the average men and boys have dropped so significantly. And, hey, I think it's one of those topics we need to discuss, you know. The reality, gentlemen, is that the reason I started this channel in the first place because I realized that there is a problem with men. A lot of people are not recognizing it, and I think this segment just sort of gives you a good idea why we all need to get involved with what's happening as men. We need to get our society back. So this particular video is from a segment on Diary of a CEO, the real reason men are quietly giving up. So this is what we're going to discuss today. All right. Give me a thumbs up, my friend. I know it's Christmas. Don't eat too much. I mean, over here in Dubai, it's 3:15. I've only eaten breakfast and I'm still full from that. And pretty much that's going to be it for me for the day. For some reason, my wife loves cooking on Christmas Day, and so she's going to do a roast beef. We decided not to have a turkey this Christmas, so she's going to do a roast. I saw a big hunk of beef that she has sitting there. I'll take a few pieces of that probably later on in the day as a protein source, but not overindulging. She knows that. She knows I'm trying to get it together for the new year, and I want to bring in a new year with a new note, you know? So anyway, that's enough about me. Guys, still remember to pick up my book. It's out on Amazon. Make sure you pick it up and start living by it for the new year, okay? I think it's a great source for all men and boys. All right, let's Santa get into this particular video, my friends.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at some stats earlier on that said there's been increased sexual inactivity amongst young men, which is an interesting stat. It's risen to almost 31% of men between the ages of 18 and 24 reporting no sexual activity in the past year. So that's almost doubled in about the space of 18 years.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting stat. High suicide rates amongst men. Men account for nearly 80% of all suicides in the US. The highest rate observed among 45 to 64-year-olds globally. Suicide is the leading cause of death amongst young men. And a survey conducted in the UK found that an increasing amount of men feel hopeless and worthless and that are struggling with finding meaning and purpose in the world. The plight of young men. You talk in your books and in your work about how the role of a man has changed and how that this might not be necessarily productive for the health and well-being of a man.
Yeah, we've taken away their purpose. When you take a human being's purpose away, remember the purpose for men was to protect their family.
I can tell you one thing, gentlemen. The drop in testosterone levels is a major contributor to this. You all don't understand how important testosterone is to you until it diminishes. It drops. And if it starts to drop in you as a young man, that is a serious recipe for disaster. It is literally the life force that drives men. Without it, we are not technically men. The reason a woman is because she produces estrogen or estrogen, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That's what makes her feminine. So if the testosterone levels are dropping amongst men and boys, we got a serious freaking problem, man. Because one of the big reasons why men get depressed is because he has a low testosterone level.
Remember, the purpose for men was to protect their family. It was to hunt in the old days, feed their families, but it was also to protect their families. It was to provide for their families. And what we've done in reversing everything is, although we raised up women, and there are certainly positive things about raising up women, but when we raised up women, we denigrated men. And I have 2 sons, so this is very personal for me.
You know, that's one of the things that I have found with women, boy. They don't step up to help men unless they have a dog in the fight. Women who have sons are usually the ones that will step up to protect those sons, her offspring. Not even if they have husbands, if they have sons. Now shit gets personal because her DNA is suffering. Her child is suffering. By the way, I'm writing another book as we speak, right? And the title of that one is, What About My Son? That is the title. Because it seems like women will only get involved with a fight that involves a man if it's her son. She will protect that son against other bad women. But if she didn't have a son, but if her son wasn't involved, you go, girl, you go, girl, you got to take what you have to, girl, you got to do what you got to do, blah, blah, blah. It's always women defending other women. But the second it's her son, no, things change significantly.
And I also see a lot of young men in my practice, young adult men. And what I'll say is that they feel discouraged, they feel purposeless, they feel diminished. Yeah. And there has been something vengeful, I think, about... So the feminist movement was meant to give women choice and to balance off what was imbalanced in society. But there's something vengeful about it. I think at moments I feel like there's something vengeful about the modern feminist movement, which is, let's get them, let's diminish them, let's take over, let's push them out, let's beat them up, let's show them who's, something really vengeful. So for me, the feminist movement was meant to create balance. It wasn't meant to set into play this other kind of imbalance. And, more than, I think 60% of universities are women now, as well as graduate schools. And so that means, and the studies show that men will marry at their educational level or below. Women will only marry at their educational level or above. And by diminishing men so much in terms of our education and professions, we've basically taken men's purpose away. They feel purposeless. And the other thing is, and I'm going to say, when men stay home to nurture their children, now remember, as mammals, we have defined roles. That is not instinctual for men to stay home and nurture their young. It's a reverse of something. And the issue there is that there's an inverse relationship between oxytocin and testosterone. The higher the oxytocin, guess what?
The lower the testosterone.
Yes.
So if we're staying at home bonding, then
there's
our
a
testosterone
reason
drops.
for that. So mammals, when they are nurturing their young, they don't want somebody mating with them. Go away, right? So the idea is that when a female nurtures, she doesn't want to have sex. She doesn't want to, right? So the investment in nurturing pushes away the investment in mating.
And this is why
And this is so true. And every man that comes to me and says, my sex life dropped, we hardly have sex, etc., etc. I always ask every man, did this start after she had the first child? 90% of the men says, yes. It happened with me and my wife. Her sex drive dropped significantly after the first child. But because I was aware of these things, I basically had to tell her, listen, don't let this get to a point where it starts to damage our relationship. You have to reverse it. You have to force yourself, even though you don't feel like. You have to reverse that and start having sex again. Kick the body back in. It's no different than working out, right? If you don't feel like working out, you don't stop working out. You force yourself to get back into the gym, to start working out again, so that the body starts to produce the hormones and the chemicals that make you get stronger and much more prime to feel like working out. That's how the body works. But if a woman keeps operating on her feelings, it is one sure way of damaging her relationship, because if she goes with what she naturally feels like, it's a destructive force. Because let me give you another example. If you feel like eating sugar because sugar always gives you that high, if you keep doing that, you'll damage your body, right? Same thing, same. I can give you tons of different examples. Sometimes you got to buck how you feel in order to fix yourself. And sexual activity is one of the most fundamental things that usually goes first, because a woman just don't feel like having sex after she's have a child. It drops significantly, and she has to freaking fight that hard. But this is an amazing point here. I never thought about this. Part of the process of low libido is that when you start to nurture the child, your oxytocin, your bonding hormones, increases. But what that does is it kills or suppresses your testosterone levels. Whew, didn't know that. I think this is vital information for you guys and ladies to understand what happens when you bring a child into the mix and when you try to reverse the roles, where the husband has to play the motherly role.
And this is why I've read so many stats around men's testosterone dropping when they become fathers. I couldn't believe that was true when I read it.
It's true. There was some studies to talk about how women's testosterone goes up. Women have testosterone. When they're out in the work world fighting like men, that their testosterone goes up. And men's testosterone, when they stay home, goes down. Now, what that's doing for sex lives, there's some research about, that is the next wave, which is what does it do to sex lives? Because men have to perform. They have to get it up, to be crude.
Tell me about it.
And so if your testosterone is low, you're not going to get it up, right? Which is why there's all this Viagra and these patches and supplements and, because it's not instinctually normal for husbands to stay home and nurture their children. And that's the inconvenient truth.
I told my wife, I said, listen, you might not feel like doing it, but imagine if I didn't have a freaking sex drive. How would you feel? Imagine if I couldn't get it up. I said, literally, all you got to do is lie there. This was like 15 years ago, right? We went through our little rough patch, And I said, technically, women don't have to perform sexually. You just have to freaking lie there. Open your legs. Sorry to be crude as well, but these are the realities of an adult conversation. I have to get it up. I have to perform. And I've never taken any little blue pills or anything. I've always had a pretty high testosterone level to my detriment because it's feeding my prostate, which now gives me an enlarged prostate. I'd done a whole video on this enlarged prostate in men, I think about 8-9 months ago. But that's one of the problems when you have a high testosterone level as you get older as a man, especially as a black man. So gentlemen, make sure that once you hit after 35, you go and check your prostate to see if it's enlarging or not. If you're a 50-year-old man and have never checked your prostate, please go and do that now. I mean, like the next day that the doctor's office open up, or your urologist, I should say. It's vital for you to check it. The number one killer amongst men, especially black men, is prostate cancer. Just remember that. Okay, let's go back to the video.
How that affects men's and women's sex life when women come home from their banking jobs and their law jobs. Do their husbands not want to have sex with them? And, is that breaking up? So this is all I think this is the next wave of we've reversed things societally so fast. And then we hope that our evolutionary bodily responses are just going to catch up in merely a century. And it just doesn't, evolution doesn't work like that. It takes hundreds, if not thousands of years to change our bodily evolutionary responses, right? Our instinctual responses. So this is, it's problematic. And also when men's testosterone goes down, they get depressed. So they don't perform sexually well. They get depressed. They feel purposeless. They can't do what they're instinctually supposed to do, which is provide, protect, hunt. We talk about DEI. I mean, why aren't we talking about DEI when it comes to men and women? Why aren't we talking about balancing the scales, giving men purpose again?
And that's why I always say, gentlemen, that's what we say in the manosphere 24/7. Every single video you see in every manosphere channel, hit the gym, get to the gym. The only way to reverse low testosterone, low T, whatever you want to call it, is lifting heavy weights. Lifting heavy weights. It forces the body to produce growth hormones in order to repair the muscle that you've just damaged. Please understand that, gentlemen. You're not going to get it by rowing. You're not going to get it by bike riding, jogging, Pilates, none of that shit is going to reverse or help you to produce testosterone levels that you had 20 years or 30 years back. I am telling you, get to the freaking gym. This isn't just for show. This is just a byproduct of you producing testosterone to keep you functioning as a man. The muscles are a byproduct of what you're trying to achieve. You always got to freaking force the body to produce testosterone. And you can keep doing that right into your late 80s, 90s, right up until you die. You can still stay hard by producing testosterone, but you cannot do it without lifting weights. Please understand this.
And honestly, we should be talking about what happens to men when they actually do stay home and nurture their young.
Is there stats to support the idea that if you're at home raising your kids as a man, you struggle in the bedroom?
So there was some research I know that was going on about that, how it affects sex drive. But when your testosterone goes down, it does affect sex drive. Mm-hmm. We're just not talking about it. So I have anecdotal patients. I have a patient whose wife was a hardcore woman in finance. And, you know, he lost interest in her. He had to go out of the marriage and have affairs with women who were more feminine, who were more, so he could feel as if he could play that masculine role. He couldn't do that in his marriage. And so are we going to see kind of a shift in society as a result of this? We're already seeing.
See, this is the problem. Women don't realize the more masculine they become, the less attractive they become to men. Because men almost see another man in front of him. Women don't get it. Her femininity triggers his sexual prowess. Her femininity triggers him and his testosterone levels to want her. And that's another thing that triggers testosterone. When he's more sexually active, his testosterone levels increases as well. But these are the things that don't get freaking spoken about. You stop having sex, your sex drive drops. The more sex you have, the more hornier you feel because your testosterone levels stay high. But these are the things people don't talk about. But if you think about it, all your activities, gentlemen, once you stop having sex, think about, you don't feel like doing it anymore, do you? You go through a period where you stop having it and you still have enough testosterone in your body. So you feel like, I got to get it. But if you don't get it and you suppress it, guess what happens? Your body shuts down now. And because you're not using that testosterone and you're not rubbing one out, you're not activating the system, priming the pump, your sex drive drops even lower. A lot of men today are not able to get it up because their sex drive have dropped so low that activity in itself stops them from friggin' performing. That's why it's important for you. If you're not getting physical sex, it's vital for you to keep masturbating. It's important, gentlemen. Absolutely 100% vital. Use it or lose it. It applies to every aspect of your life. Stop lifting weights, muscles shrink. Stop using your memory loss. Stop freaking running. Stop doing any cardiovascular activity. The lungs become dormant. Stop stretching. You become inflexible. And I can go on and on and on and on. Use it or lose it. The same thing applies to sex. I get you guys coming in the comment section, but don't do that. That's not good for your body. Bullshit. All you idiots that out there telling me don't do it because, it's not good for your energy level. Bullshit. Use it or lose it. I'm sure a lot of you that are freaking arguing against it are celibate or sitting on your ass and don't even know if it functions properly. I'm telling you this as an older man. At least 4 to 5 times a week, rub one out or get sex. A combination of both.
Seeing it. I mean, the other thing that we're doing is to young boys. Let's talk about what we're doing to young boys. This starts very young. We basically educate young boys in a way that really favors girls. You know, from a very young age, we talk about being able to sit quietly and regulate your emotions and not be aggressive and not be impulsive. And these little boys are being diagnosed with ADHD, many of them just for being little boys, Little boys need to run around. They have a lot of physical energy. They have tons of testosterone. When you're like between 3 and 6, you have a surge of testosterone. And all you want to do is run and jump and play and be outside. And what we're doing, we're putting them in school, making them sit in circle time. So we marginalize them, we label them, we say they have a problem, we say that they have ADHD, they have behavioral problems. And in many of them, the stress that I talked about is the stress of making little boys be more like little girls.
The problem is even deeper than that. God forbid if he has a single mother. But let's look at how we're grooming boys today. I just want you to imagine for a second the journey of a boy, okay? So a child is born to a mother, and try to understand that a large percentage of women now are single mothers, okay? The boy goes from mom's home into childcare, into daycare, run by women. From daycare, he goes to primary school. 80% of the teachers are women. And like she said, the school system, the education system, is designed and conducted to act strictly to help or to please or to favor girls. Okay? So he's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He is being groomed in a female environment. But all during that time, mummies have him alone. Babysitter, a woman, not a man. The small amount of time that he gets to be with his father cannot undo the massive amount of damage that's being done to that child in his developing years. When she has her friends come over and they're talking about, oh my God, this fingernails and the wigs and oh my God, this, and oh, look at him. Let's put a little dress on him. Oh, he looks so cute. Oh, paint his nails. All female shit. The cackling of women, the mannerism of women, that's all picked up by the son. She goes to the beauty salon. She goes to get her hair done. She don't have a babysitter. The women in the salon are babysitting him, playing with him, trying to entertain him. So either he's sitting in front of an iPad but he's also absorbing the cackle of a woman. Then he goes to primary school or he then goes to college, etc. All female teachers. And then he goes into the workplace which favors women. When does that man get a chance to to have a male experience? Very, very rarely, unless he literally hang out with boys at the school he is in. And most of the time, he's going to hang out with boys who have similar habits because he can't handle the males, the strong males. So more than likely, he's going to hang out with another boy who has a single mother who has the same feminine type traits. Then you wonder why men grow up with this feminized feeling to them. And guess what? No woman wants that man. But it was created by women. That's the problem. I explained this whole theory to a school teacher a couple of days ago that came over for a visit. And her mouth was open. She said, I never thought of it like that. I said, yeah, because I was explaining to her why my channel is so popular. She couldn't understand it. I said, there's a lot of men out there who need information from other men. But she never looked at it like that. And this is a divorced mother about to hit 50 odd. Women don't see the problem unless it's their son.
And in many of them, the stress that I talked about is the stress of making little boys be more like little girls. And that's where it starts. And so then they go into childhood. And again, the educational system favors the way girls learn, not the way boys learn. How do boys learn? Boys have attention spans for very short periods of time, and then they need lots of physical activity. So ideally, if you go to and look at the boys' schools, what do? They run the boys like running the dogs in the park. They sit for 45 minutes or half an hour, but then the boys get time off to run around. And then they'll sit another half an hour, and then they'll run around. I mean, they have like 4 recess periods a day. And so that's really better for boys. And little girls have more of a capacity to sit quietly in circle time and sort of, they don't have as much testosterone. They don't have that need to run and jump and play to the same degree that little boys do. They do need to play. We're not letting our kids play, boys and girls, because we're trying to force left brain development on them too early. But we are forcing little boys into this box, and they're not doing well in that box. And then they're labeled. They're labeled as having behavioral problems, ADHD, and that label then follows them through childhood, sometimes into middle school, into high school. Yeah.
What would you change? I make you Prime Minister of the world. president of the world and you can fix this issue.
Oh, I would have little boys educated separately than little girls in the early years.
Yes, I agree as well. I'm going to leave it there so that you guys can go and watch the rest of it. But here's what I would do if I had charge of the educational system throughout the entire globe. Boys and girls would go to the same school, but they would be educated separately when it came to academics. They would get playtime together because I think it's vital for boys and girls to interact on a social basis so that they can get to understand each other. Isolating the two sexes, I don't think ever worked well. Boys' schools and girls' schools, I've always seen that as a problem because during the development years, I think it's essential that kids understand the differences between each other. However, boys would get double the amount of physical activity to do different tasks than girls would. That's how I would operate it. And we have to get rid of this notion that boys and girls are the same because it's bullshit. That is what's killing the system. Because their definition on boys and girls are the same is that men should be more like women. Boys should be more like girls. That is where the false dichotomy kicks in. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. I'm going to keep this one short, my friends. It's Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. It's been a great year, man. It's coming up to the end. And I just want to say I really appreciate each and every one of you that keep watching me on a daily basis. I love you guys. I think we're a great community, and I'm hoping to bring you bigger and better things as this year progresses, come to an end, and in the new year, your boy's going live. We're going to start taking live calls, okay? So that's something that you guys got to look forward to, and hopefully I can grow the show and this channel a lot bigger. So my friends, Merry Christmas, and I will see you tomorrow, and of course, remember to subscribe and book a session if you need any help. And so, my friends, remember, whenever in doubt, always, always ask an older man. See you soon. Cheers.